Utilizing your VA loan is one of the most powerful ways for you to build long-term wealth. Here's how. What's up guys, it's McKeown back again with another video this week, and I'm going to be breaking down how exactly you personally can use your VA loan and become a millionaire. A little bit about me: I am a Marine Corps veteran. I served in the Marine Corps from 2008 to 2012 in Camp Pendleton, California. Made my way out eventually to the state of Texas, and in 2017, middle of 2017, I decided to move to the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas, get my real estate license on the side while still teaching high school math and coaching wrestling. However, I had had the last 12 months prior to that of really networking with a ton of investors down in the San Antonio area, meeting a bunch of real estate agents, and just kind of getting my feet wet when it comes to real estate investing, knowing that I was going to utilize my VA loan when it came to the right time to do so. And that right time to do so was within, honestly, the first 45 days of moving to Dallas. I utilized my VA loan by purchasing a duplex in the summer of 2017, moved out 5 months later into a single family, decided to utilize my VA loan again about 2 years later after that on a fourplex, totaling about $620,000 between the fourplex that I purchased in 2019 and the duplex that I purchased in 2017. Well, fast forward to 2022, I decided to sell both of those properties, 1031 them into a larger commercial property, and now I'm sitting at about $1.1 million in a commercial building where I host my real estate company as well as 2 other tenants and a luxury cabin that I'm building up in Oklahoma. Now that's my personal story, but as far as utilizing your VA loan, there are a handful of ways that you can utilize your VA loan to build financial wealth for you and your future. So after having a lot of veterans find my VA related content on YouTube, I decided to make this video specifically to break it down into really the 3 reasons why your VA loan can be so powerful. So first things first, for me, and I believe anyone else that wants to take advantage of utilizing their VA loan for honestly a house that's not just a standard single family home, is going to be sacrifice. Now, what do I mean by saying sacrifice? So me personally, to give you guys even more of my story itself, the duplex that I bought was in an area that was quite some distance from my actual job. I was commuting about 45 minutes one way to work, sometimes even longer if I hit traffic. Obviously that's not convenient, but the price of the duplex and the numbers made sense to where the commute short term made sense, knowing that I was going to be eventually moving to something hopefully much closer. Now my story goes from that duplex to a single family where I remodeled for about 2 years of my life. But after that single family home, I decided to move out of that into another multifamily, utilizing my VA loan once again. And yes, clarity here, you can have multiple VA loans out. The locations of both of these multifamilies were not great. They were probably C class, if that, at most. Now the fourplex itself, I was moving from a single family home of about 1,800 square feet with a nice backyard for my dog to a fourplex that was about 700 square feet in an area of town that not a lot of people would probably live in. Now I can tell you I personally wasn't totally uncomfortable with it, but it wasn't something that you would see most people purchasing their first home with, utilizing their VA loan. Now when it comes to sacrifice, most people won't sacrifice at all when it comes to buying a house. They want to buy a house that has 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, enough for their family, enough for them to be comfortable, maybe in a good school district, so on and so forth. But me being a single individual, it was my sole decision and my sole desire at the end of the day as far as how much I truly wanted to sacrifice. So when it came time to finally moving out of that fourplex about a year later into where I've actually been staying over the last 2 years, I had a duplex now getting me about $3,200 a month and a fourplex that was getting me close to $4,000 a month, really returning me every single month north of $7,000 in rent. So yes, sacrifice certainly does pay off. I lived in areas that weren't necessarily where I would typically want to live in. They weren't the up and coming areas either. They weren't certainly downtown, you know, the great places for single individuals. But again, I sacrificed about 5 or 6 months at that duplex and another year at that fourplex for a year and a half to be able to pull in north of $7,000 a month in rent. So yes, sacrifice is huge for you guys. If you're not wanting to sacrifice at all, buying a house at the end of the day with your VA loan is still going to be great, but you can see the difference. Had I just purchased, you know, a $300,000 or $400,000 single family home that would rent after I move out for a couple thousand versus utilizing and sacrificing really at the end of the day, utilizing my VA loan for a duplex and then a quadplex in the span of a year and a half, or I guess 3.5 years if you want to include the single family in between the two. But you can see the difference of me just going out and buying a single family versus buying 2 multifamilies with my VA loan. Now, the next thing that I would tell you to do, and this can kind of tie in with sacrifice as well, is be creative. Now, me personally, yes, I purchased a duplex, and then, 2.5 years later, I purchased a fourplex. So I went the multifamily route, which is not the only way you can be successful if you want to utilize your VA loan and eventually grow your real estate portfolio. Me personally, my second house, which I didn't use my VA loan for, was more of the BRRRR strategy and more of a home that was lived in for the last 30, 40 years by some elderly individuals, just had been taken care of meticulously, but it had not been updated in probably 20 to 25 years, outside of a little bit of updates here and a little bit there. So I'm gonna utilize my single family or my second home as an example that could easily be used utilizing your VA loan. I used a conventional loan on this second home, but again, don't have to use your VA loan on a multifamily to be successful in investing in real estate. So what do I mean by being creative? I mean, you need to look for a single family or some kind of residence that you're gonna live in that you can bring value to. So for instance, if you find a neighborhood where a home is priced severely under market because it needs a ton of work, now the question is going to be is, do you have the cash or the ability to obtain that extra cash? Again, being creative, to be able to do the work to that house to eventually either rent it out, refinance it, or sell it. So yes, two big things that you need to realize when you're using your VA loan. If you have the desire to invest in real estate, you're gonna have to sacrifice and you need to be creative. Now, the final thing that I think is probably the biggest struggle for folks, especially those that have found my videos or folks that are, YouTubing how to utilize your VA loan to invest in real estate, is at the end of the day, don't be scared to use your VA loan. Now, if I were to go back to 2017 and continue to rent and I had never purchased that duplex, and let's say in 2019 when an individual came up to me and wanted me to purchase their fourplex or get their fourplex sold, and I decided to either just sell it or just not help them, the difference now in 2022 is about $1.1 million in equity that I have between my cabin and my commercial building. Now, had I been scared, had I not purchased that duplex, had I not purchased that fourplex, my portfolio obviously would look completely different and I would have a substantial amount less in my net worth. Now, I can tell you my cabin's worth at about 1.4, 1.5 million, and my commercial property is worth about 1.3 million, and I have a total accumulative portfolio of about 5 million. So those two properties that I made, that I used my VA loan on, are now about half of my real estate portfolio is generated off of just utilizing my VA loan. So yes, don't be scared, but don't be stupid, guys. At the end of the day, if you are an individual that's married, if you're maybe of older age and you aren't someone that's trying to, go jump into the deep end, or you're not trying to risk it all. I tell people honestly that sometimes I may have been over leveraged. I may have kind of jumped into the very, very deep end and got in over my head. I was fortunate enough with my real estate business to be able to make a good amount of money to really stomach any issues that came about when it came to my properties, but not everyone is necessarily able to be in the same position as myself. So if you're married, if you have multiple kids, yes, utilizing your VA loan to go buy a fourplex doesn't make a ton of sense. You're gonna have to live in it, right? And if you've got 700 square feet like I did, you're not putting a family of 6 in 700 square feet, more than likely, okay? So it doesn't make sense. But at the end of the day, if you have access to your VA loan, using your VA loan is gonna be a lot more powerful, even if it's a brand new, beautiful custom home, than renting. Because at the end of the day, renting is 100% interest. And yes, interest rates are high compared to what they have been, and who knows where they're gonna continue to go. But I can tell you, interest rates at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% is still much lower than the interest rate on renting. Now, obviously, you are gonna either fall somewhere in between the married individual that's retired and in their 60s with a bunch of kids, or someone that's in their early 20s, having found one of these videos or one of my VA related videos that has no significant other and no real, at the end of the day, priorities when it comes to their life. Now, wherever you may fall in that kind of area is going to ultimately determine, how much you're willing to sacrifice, how much you're willing to be creative. And at the end of the day, you really should utilize your VA loan, because I can tell you, having done it myself, it will absolutely change your life. Now, if you have any questions, I'd love for you to reach out to my Instagram or shoot me an email. I'll leave all of that information in the description below. You can also leave a comment. I'll make sure to get back to any comments you may have, questions that you may have. But again, guys, thanks for all the support. Make sure to like and subscribe. It really does help, and stay tuned for the next video.